Hey guys, thanks for clicking on the link in this one. So if you are new here, we are talking Red Sox as we always do, and I had a pretty interesting thought the other day, at least something that I thought was interesting about the Red Sox, and that is, do the Red Sox actually need a big right-handed bat in their lineup? I know that's their big focus and their target right now, but I'm going to kind of run through what I'm talking about with you guys and see if some of my logic makes sense here. Now, I want to be very clear here. I'm not advocating for them not to get a right-handed bat. The obvious plan A here is they need to get a right-handed bat for the lineup. But do they need it? Do they have to get it? Is this team dependent on getting that right-handed bat to be able to make the postseason and be effective in 2025? That is kind of what we're talking about here. So if you haven't been to this channel before, or maybe you've just missed some of these videos in the past, this Word document here that I have pulled up right in front of you guys, this is essentially what the 40-man roster currently is for the Red Sox. Everything in yellow here are the additions that the Red Sox have made this year externally. Those are ones from outside of the organization. Everything in blue, now the Giolito, Hendricks, and Whitlock, those are additions to the 2025 team in the sense that, yes, they were on the team last year, but they either didn't pitch much in the case of Whitlock or they didn't pitch at all in the case of Giolito or Hendricks. So you could de facto say that those are also additions. And when you really look at it, the pitching side of this has been completely rebuilt, right? Like, we have Crochet at the top, Bueller as a number 3, Giolito as a 5, we have Hendricks as a closer, Chapman as a setup, Whitlock is going to be back in the bullpen, hopefully as an elite guy as he's been in the past. And then we've got Justin Wilson there at the bottom. And then the last and only offensive addition that we have is Narvaez here, who is currently our backup catcher. And so when you're looking at this, the pitching side's kind of done, right? Like, you don't really need something else now. If you want to get picky about it, and I will, and I will get picky about it later, I could use another high leverage reliever at the back end. But top to bottom, if you go into this with next season as is, this is way better than it was last year. And on the offensive side, though, the other side over here, not so much. They haven't changed anything. In fact, we've lost Tyler O'Neill. So we've lost one of our biggest bats this last season. Tyler O'Neill had 31 home runs. And that's the point that I'm trying to make here. Do we need to replace the Tyler O'Neill in the lineup, or can we do something else? And so what really got me thinking on this is this tweet here from Ed Hand here. Ed Hand pumps out some good stuff. But this is the top 10 free agent bats and top 10 free agent relievers. And this is coming off of this tweet from Chris Cotillo here, basically with Craig Breslow. And he's been saying this all offseason is the Red Sox need a right-handed bat. They want to get a high leverage reliever. And that's basically it. Those are the two big things they want to do. Maybe another backup catcher. That's another thing that gets thrown in there as well. But when you look at what's available on the free agent market right now, in terms of right-handed bats, you've got your Alex Bregman, which the Red Sox have been very heavily connected to, and I think right now that's probably Plan A, because Bregman fills a hole at second base. I mean, we don't really have a hole, but we have an opportunity at second base to where Alex Bregman could be there and be probably a very above-average guy for the next few years. But Bregman wants a $200 million contract. I really don't think he's going to get that from anybody unless it's the Toronto Blue Jays, in which case nobody wants to take the Blue Jays money and nobody wants to give Bregman $200 million. So it seems like a match made in heaven, right? Like, if Bregman doesn't sign for the money that he wants, the Blue Jays are desperate to sign somebody. It just feels like Alex Bregman is going to go to the Blue Jays for like $180 million. It's going to be some sort of compromise in there. But if the Blue Jays don't want him, which they should get him because they have Ernie Clement as their third baseman right now, and they could definitely use Alex Bregman to help at third base. But if they don't get him, and they don't want him for whatever reason, Alex Bregman's your 1A option. And I think that really leaves the Red Sox as the only viable option that has money to spend, kind of a thing. And I think that it could be one of those situations where it ends up in the way that like JD Martinez did in the past, where it's like, if you don't remember, Dave Dombrowski and the Red Sox, they were kind of negotiating with JD Martinez's camp, and JD Martinez wanted $200 million back in 2016. And they were like, no, we're not going to give that to you because nobody is in the market. Like, clearly, like, we are the one that makes the most sense for you. And we got whittled down and whittled down and whittled down. And finally, like, at the very beginning, very end of free agency, beginning of spring training, he signed for $110 million in 5 years, which was a great deal for the Red Sox. JD Martinez gave you every penny of that and helped you win a World Series. And I'm wondering if something like that happens with Alex Bregman, where it's just like, yeah, he wants this, but there's just nobody left in the market. You got the Tigers, who, I mean, they say they're still involved, but they signed Gleyber Torres. And so it just makes me wonder if the Blue Jays aren't going to be there and they don't sign Bregman, who else is left? And it really is kind of just the Red Sox as somebody who's been like involved with them, but I just cannot see them going above like $140 million. Like if you give them a 5 year, $140 million deal to Bregman, I'm pretty happy with that. And we'll go to Baseball Reference real quick and Bregman and see like what he's been able to do. I mean, 4.1 WAR, like this is basically what he is. 4.9, 4.6. Like he has proven that this is the Bregman that he is. He's going to give you 25 home runs a year. He's going to push 100 RBIs a year. He's going to bat right at 260. Like that's actually crazy. 259, 262, 260. That is insane consistency. He obviously took a massive dip this last year when it came to the walks that he was drawing, but his strikeout rate didn't go up. So, I mean, it's a give and take here. It might just be a one-off. It could be a sign of things to come. But he's always been a guy that walks a lot. Like he's a 120 OPS kind of guy. That's kind of what he is. And could he do that for the next 4 or 5 years and still be relatively around that 3-4 WAR production? Maybe even give you some higher peak seasons because he had a 7.9 and 8.9 season. I mean, that was when he was a lot younger, but he could get somewhere, you know, in the middle of this. Maybe give you a weird 6 WAR season, 6.5 WAR season. I could see it. But again, he could downgrade, and we're paying for a guy in his 30s. And so, is Bregman the guy? I don't know. I don't know if Bregman's the guy here. And if he's not, then okay, where are we pivoting after that point? Now we've got Anthony Santander, and I've actually been pretty high on Santander. Now, a lot of people aren't, and I do understand why, and it's because the savant metrics are kind of off on him. But at the same time, he hit 44 home runs last year in Cam and yards. Cam and yards, they push the walls back, and it's incredibly difficult to hit a ball out of that ballpark. And he still jacked 44 shots. That's something. He just gets insane loft on the ball. And I mean, it's not like he's any slouch the years prior. I mean, 28, 33 bombs. Like, no, if you sign Santander to a 4 year contract and he hits 28 bombs a year, you're probably not going to be super pleased with that. But if he hits you 33 to 35, that's kind of what you want. You're not expecting 40, but like mid 30s, yes, I think that's pretty reasonable from him. And when you really kind of look at Santander, that's a little clue for later, Ryan Helsley. But these are the metrics that I'm kind of talking about where people are like a little concerned. Like his exit velocity is good, his expected slugging, like these are good savant numbers, but you're paying for a guy who has a lot more like type of red in here. And even when you go back, like it's just like they've always been kind of the same. Like this was a good season, but it's not like he crushes the ball extremely hard. Like 68th percentile is good. It's good. Average exit velocity, 72nd percentile. We go to this season, it's dropped to 62, but it's in this general same vicinity. 89.8, and even 2022, it's 90.1. Like that's within the margin of error for sure. And it's just kind of the hitter that he is. But you look at like what he's been able to do, and he's a switch hitter, and people kind of comment a lot of the times like, hey, he doesn't like hit lefties super well, which is wrong. I just want to tell you that. Like people who are talking about that, they have no idea what they're talking about. Because like when you look at his lefty splits here, versus left-handed, right-handed, like versus lefties, he's hit lefties better in his career than he's hit righties. And so I don't know where people get this notion from. Like even if you look at the last couple of seasons, it's not like it's that far off. Like this last year was a little bit of a down year when it came to his splits for lefty righties. Lefty righties, but it wasn't that terrible. Like right here, 793. Like he still got an 800 OPS, and this was a down year for him against lefties, but he still hit righties really well. And then you go back to the previous season, 2023, so this is just a year ago, and 790, again, still very good. We go back to the previous year, 2022, this is the big year for him, 913. So, I mean, he's going to give you an 800 OPS, probably at least, something around that range. Versus lefties, and if you're paying him to hit lefties, you want to hit lefties, that's great. But also just having a switch hitter in the lineup, the Red Sox don't have one. And if we go back to this Word document that I referenced before, like just imagine if Santander was batting right here instead of Story, and Story got moved down. Like what happens when the Red Sox face a right-handed pitcher? That guy is screwed, having to face 5 lefties in a row to start, and then you're gonna have a lineup full of lefties, 8 lefties. Like you're going to crush right-handed pitching, and they did last year, but they just got hurdled against lefties. But if you have a Santander in there to replace Tyler O'Neill, like that'd be great. But are they going to spend the money on him? I don't know. I don't know either. And so we're going back down the list, and back to the point that I was trying to previously make here. Um, so where are we kind of at in terms of, do they need a big right-handed bat? Because those are the two big right-handed bats that make sense for the Red Sox. You have Pete Alonso on here, and obviously he's a massive right-handed bat. But does he make sense for the Red Sox when you have Tristan Casas? Not really. Now, the Red Sox have floated trading Tristan Casas, and I know Craig Breslow just said the Red Sox haven't, I don't know how he phrased it, but it was like they haven't been the one, like, they haven't been trying to trade Tristan Casas, but his name has come up in trade conversations and they've talked about it. So maybe they're not the ones that are like, hey, we want to trade Tristan Casas. But if teams are asking about it, they're definitely talking about it. And they allegedly made this offer, which is a crazy offer, in my opinion, of sending Yoshida and Tristan Casas to the Mariners for Luis Castillo. And while Castillo's a good pitcher, he's 32 years old, on a decline, probably already. And you're giving up a huge young talent with Tristan Casas just to get out from money underneath Yoshida, who Yoshida's still a good hitter. Yoshida and Casas would have been the top two hitters on the Mariners last season. And you're giving them to him for a guy who's 32, 33 years old just to get out from under some of Yoshida's money and to try to clean up some lineup congestion. Makes no sense to me. That's crazy. And thank God the Mariners said no to it. They're stupid for saying no to it. I'm sorry, Jerry Dipoto. Like, what are you doing? Like, you need offensive help if you're the Mariners, and they're just going to give you your two best offensive pieces, and you're just going to say no to it. Like, I don't know what they're thinking, but at the same time, I don't know what Craig Breslow was thinking doing this. I think maybe you were overthinking it a little bit, but that's not what we're going to talk about here. So, Bregman, Santander, Pete Alonso, they may or may not make sense. It just kind of depends on the situation. I think Bregman and Santander will both fit in just fine if the money is right, but Pete Alonso is probably not going to work. So that brings us down to Ha-Seong Kim, and this is exactly why I'm making this video, is because of Ha-Seong Kim. And the reason I say this is because why can't we just go after Ha-Seong Kim as the right-handed bat that we need? Like, I understand that he is not the offensive force that Bregman and Santander are, but Ha-Seong Kim, in my opinion, is the most undervalued player on the free agent market. And I think he is going to get the best contract bang for your buck this offseason out of anybody. And so let's look at Kim's stats real quick. And so if you're unfamiliar with him because he plays for the Padres, he came over a few years ago from Japan, signed a 4-year deal with the Padres. This last year, he put up 2.6 WAR in a partial season because he missed a lot of time. But when you're looking at like a rate basis for Kim, he actually had a pretty solid season last year. He was an average type hitter. You know, he's not going to like wow you at bat usually. But 2.6 WAR, you extrapolate that to a full season, give him 600 at bats or so. That's 3.54 WAR, and that's from like a subpar injured season from Kim. But you know what he's done the last couple of seasons? 5.8 WAR, 4.9 WAR. This is the last two full healthy seasons that he's had here. 106 OPS plus, which is above average. I mean, it's not something that you necessarily want batting at the top of your lineup, but if you have a 338 on base percentage and you have 128 walks and 50 stolen bases, you average 25 stolen bases this season, you could justify that potentially at the top of the lineup. So let's go back over to this Word document. I've already edited it a little bit, but you have Duran here at the top of the lineup, and say you plug in Kim to replace David Hamilton. So you put him at the second spot, and I think it's reasonable to have him batting second with this type of lineup. And then you have Devers batting third, Casas fourth, Story batting fifth. I'm okay with Story batting fifth to open the season. Like, is it ideal? No, not necessarily. But if he's batting fifth, like, that's all right. And so then you have Wilyer Abreu batting sixth, Wong seventh, Yoshida eighth, Rafaela ninth. I mean, like, this is not an awful lineup. Like, are you replacing the production of O'Neill? No, not necessarily. But Kim fills a lot of these holes. And you know what else he does that's proven outside of his offensive skill set? Everything else. He does everything else well. Like, let's go over to his Baseball Savant page really quick. This is him from 2024. This is his Baseball Savant page. He was fielding run value above average at 78th percentile, 74th percentile base running value. He stole 22 bases last season, but in 2023, he stole 38 bases. His last healthy season, he stole 38 bases. And this is after the rule changes. But again, he took advantage of it, and he's fast. So let's go back to 2023. This was his best season ever. Base running value, 93rd percentile. You know what that equates to? That's like a Jaron Duran level of base running. And if you had him and Jaron Duran at the top two of your lineup, that's not bad to be able to have. The guy does not strike out, which is important. Like if you're trying to drive in runs or trying to just advance people, you have Jaron Duran gets on first base. He doesn't strike out. Even if he grounds out, he's advancing Duran to second potentially, or he does a fly out, he can advance potentially to third. You have the walk rate here of 86%. So even if he's not necessarily getting a hit, he's still walking well above average. And so you have the potential for him to just get on base with a walk. And then Devers and Casas are right behind him. Like, I think Casas batting fourth, like, I'd like him to bat more like fifth, to be honest. I would prefer that. I would prefer, like, you can stick a Abreu batting second and you getting one of these boppers like Alex Bregman. But in reality, if you can't get one of these guys for the value that you're looking for, or they aren't able to succeed in courting one of these guys, just in general, then Kim, I think, is just like the perfect fit for this team in a lot of ways. Because something that we haven't even talked about in depth necessarily is I mentioned that he's just, very good defensively, a very good base runner. But you know who is not a good defensive team? The Boston Red Sox. Their defense is terrible. And this is with multiple Gold Glove finalists. You have Wilyer Abreu, who was the got the Gold Glove in right field. Jaron Duran was a Gold Glove finalist. Cedar Rafaela, the outfield is maybe the best outfield defense in baseball. I think it's not even a question. If you put Cedar Rafaela year round in center field next year, and then you have Wilyer Abreu and Jaron Duran, that is the best outfield defense in baseball. And we still have one of the worst fielding teams in baseball on top of it. This is last season. We had the second most errors in baseball at 115. 115 errors. That's insanely bad. Like, awful, awful rate basis here. And you know what? We had the worst defense in the American League by 18 errors. 18. We were surrounded by the Miami Marlins and the Washington Nationals here. The Chicago White Sox, who won 190 games last season, they only had 90 errors. We had 25 more errors than one of the worst teams in baseball history. That's despicable. Let's look at the 2023 season. Guess what? Second most errors. The most errors in the American League. The second most in baseball. Let's go back to 2021 because, we'll feel a little bit better for one season. We're 14th, right? Something like that. Oh, wait, no, 2021. I skipped a season. 2021 were worse. I meant 2022. 2022 was the season that we were okay. We were 14th. We had an okay. But then, again, 2021. So 3 of the last 4 seasons, this team has had the worst defense in the American League. And you're bringing in a guy in Kim who can play completely across the infield. Like, look at the fielding stats that he has down here. We'll scroll down a little bit. Standard fielding. He has played 307 games at shortstop, 79 games at third base, and 127 games at second base. He would come in and be our primary second baseman, but you know what he can do? Fill in everywhere. If Rafael Devers is going to DH, this is the perfect way to transition him to DH. You can have Rafael Devers DH for 60 games this year, maybe play 80 or 90 games on the field, and then just have Kim play third base the rest of the time at an above average clip. Look at defensive runs saved here. 24 defensive runs saved at shortstop, 9 at third base, 15 at second base. He is above average at every one of these positions. Elite at some of these. He's actually an elite third baseman. 7 defensive runs saves at third base, or 9 defensive runs saved at third base in 79 games. That's crazy. In a full season, he's getting, 15 defensive runs saved at third base? He could be the best defensive third baseman in baseball. And I know the arguments against this, it's the same arguments that you'd have against signing Bregman, or signing anybody for that matter, is we're blocking Anthony and we're blocking Campbell. And I agree with that. I mean, if you look back, we'll go back to the Word document here. This lineup right here, it's not a bad lineup. I think this is a perfectly average lineup. And I think that the top piece of this is above average. And then the middle and bottom half of this is probably very average, maybe slightly below average. But you have guys who can improve, like Rafaela showed a lot of promise. I mean, he hit 15 home runs last season, and, he has the ability to hit the ball very hard. And could he hit 20, 25 home runs in a season? I think he could. Potentially. Yoshida obviously is a quality player, and And I think that Yoshida's the guy that maybe is the odd man out. And if you can deal him and open up that position, or you can maybe trade Abreu, then you have more flexibility here to be able to bring up guys like Campbell and Anthony who are knocking on the door. These guys, if they don't make the opening day roster, they're they're going to be up within the first 45 days of the season is what I keep saying. That's my number. I think they both should be, unless they struggle horribly at the beginning of the season and there's a justifiable reason to keep them down. These guys both need to be up and playing every day. And so the argument outside of Kim or outside of anybody is, why do we even need a second baseman, right? Like, we can just go back and you can have the same thing as last year. And instead of Hamilton being your opening day second baseman, just make Christian Campbell. And if that's the case, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. But you don't know what you're going to get out of these rookies. But you know what you are going to get out of Ha-Seong Kim? This is what you're going to get. You're going to get a guy who put up almost 6 WAR last season, who put up 5 WAR in 2022, who this season would have put up 3.5, 4 WAR. This is a 4 to 5 WAR guy. And on a team where Rafael Devers put up 3.5 WAR and was the second best player last season, Ha-Seong Kim would have been the second best player on this team potentially last year. And you know how much he's going to go for? Most projections have him signing for under $75 million for like 4 years. Some people have him saying that he's going to be like 4 years, $60 million, or like 3 years, $45 million. And if you can get $15 million a year from Ha-Seong Kim here, and we'll look at the payroll here in a second, but if you're getting $15 million for Ha-Seong Kim here, I mean, you still have some payroll flexibility. You have $26, $27 million to work with. That still gives you another $10 million to go get a catcher or trade for somebody who's going to be able to be like an elite closer. And if you get Kim in here, and we'll talk about this more later because I don't want to drag on this video for another like hour or something, but if you get Kim in here and you add him to this lineup, and then you're able to trade like Wilyer Abreu or Yoshida in like a package for like Ryan Helsley or like Johan Duran. Like Johan Duran here, I have Marty ready to go. He's kind of declined over the last couple seasons, but in reality, like, the guy still throws gas. He still throws 100 miles an hour. And you give him to Andrew Bailey, like, this red's filthy. The results were not there. His fastball velocity, 100.5 miles an hour. That's insane. And his fastball run value was -3. Like, I think you tell this guy, like, hey, you don't need to throw 100 all the time. You throw 99 with a little bit better control, and just pinpoint exactly where you want to be. You're going to be like the best closer in baseball. And like, this is what he did in 2022 when he had better command. Like, I don't even know what to say here. Like, if you could trade Wilyer Abreu for like Johan Duran and maybe Christian Vasquez, which is a trade I keep throwing out there, like, I think you have your backup catcher. You don't need to have Narvaez to be able to open the season as your backup, which I actually think this guy's going to be okay. I think he's going to be a very quality backup for a long time. But again, it's his like first full season. He has 15 at-bats in the big leagues. Like, are you going to expect him to be able to do it right away? Like, it's hard to say. So if you're able to get Christian Vasquez and you're able to get Johan Duran here, Duran, again, he's only been like in the league here for 3 seasons, which means that we have 3 more years of control if we trade for him. Ryan Helsley is like the best closer in baseball this year. Like, I don't even think it was that close. Like, people talk about Devin Williams all the time. Like, Ryan Helsley here, 2.04 ERA, but look at what he's done the last 3 seasons. He is the most underappreciated guy out there. 2.45 ERA in 2023, a 1.25 in 2022, and then he had a 2.04 last year. Like, this is disgusting. Like we have Devin Williams here, and he's with the Yankees now. And okay, maybe he's a little bit better than him, but Helsley's the most underappreciated guy, because you hear about Devin Williams all the time. You don't hear about Ryan Helsley all the time. And Helsley's doing very similar things. And if we're in an arms race with the Yankees, which honestly I kind of almost feel like we are, like, it's quiet, but we almost are. Like, this is a good counter move, is going after Helsley or going after Duran here and getting like a true proven closer. Because if you get them, you free up a roster spot. Wilyer Abreu is a quality guy for like 5 years, but again, you need a space for Roman Anthony. And if we're talking like we're talking that our lineup is kind of set here with one signing with the Kim, with Ha-Seong Kim coming in, then we got to clear some space. And so potentially Yoshida could go, but nobody wants to take him. You have to attach him to some sort of contract. Maybe you trade for like Arenado or something, but then that creates other problems with even signing Kim or something. But I think Ha-Seong Kim provides so much flexibility on this roster because it's not like he's stuck at second base, guys. He can play anywhere. I think if you throw him at in the outfield too, he probably would be fine because when you have elite defenders like this, like I bet you could play a corner outfield spot and still be average. You know what I mean? And so he could be like that super utility Ben Zobrist type guy. And another thing that I didn't even mention with this guy, and I know I'm fanboying pretty hard on here, is Ha-Seong Kim is 25 or not 25, 29 years old right now. Like we're getting him for his prime. If you sign Kim, it's his age 29, 30, 31, 32 seasons. It's a 4-year contract. I mean, what are we talking about here? The guy just put up 4.9, 5.8 WAR 2 of the last 3 seasons. He would have put up another 4 WAR season this year. And if you can get this guy for like $15 million, the most undervalued guy out there. I have heard 0 rumors about Ha-Seong Kim at all. Like with anybody. I don't even know who he's attached to be honest. And so if he's that flexible guy, he is the antithesis, the complete opposite of what you have in Masataka Yoshida here. He will do everything for you. He can fit your roster perfectly. He's right-handed. He's not going to block all of these guys that are coming up because you know what? And if you put him on the bench and he only plays 130 games a season, 130, 140, just like doing whatever you need him to do, I don't think he'll complain that much. If you give him a good deal, he's still playing 75, 80% of the time. Like it's not like he plays 162 every year. Like if he plays, 140, like you can still find 140 games in there pretty easily for him and make playing time for Christian Campbell and Roman Anthony if you end up trading these guys. Because I think you have Marcelo Meyer coming up too. He'll probably be back up like maybe after spring training or not or after the All-Star break if he produces really well. But you can't plan for that right now. He hasn't even debuted at AAA yet. These are their Campbell and Anthony. They've already dominated at AAA. So anyway, guys, that's my ramblings for the day. What do you guys think here? What do you think about the idea of Kim being the solution at second base? Do we need a right-handed power bat? Do we need that? Is it possible that we can get away with an average lineup for now and just see what we have at the trade deadline? Because if we roll with this lineup and say everything that I said comes to fruition and we end up trading Abreu or Yoshida or maybe both, and then we get Ryan Helsley or we get Johan Duran in here, and then Campbell or Anthony are in this lineup by the summertime. I mean, you could always add somebody at the All-Star break. You could add somebody before the trade deadline and be like, we need that power bat that we're missing, but our pitching is like the best in baseball. For ERA plus this next year too, something else that I haven't even talked about, so we'll pull this up real fast. The ERA plus Reddit. So somebody posted this on Reddit, and we'll go to the Red Sox here. But for ERA plus for the Red Sox, we are projected to have the second best ERA plus in all of baseball. Basically what that metric means is it's a park adjusted factor that says how's your pitching going to be when you're adjusting for how difficult your ballpark is to hit in. And I know you look at the 4.07 ERA and that's not great, but ERA plus, we're the second best. We're tied for first with the Braves, who are known for having elite pitching. That's how good they've redone this pitching. And pitching wins in the playoffs, guys. I mean, it does consistently. I mean, you look at, like, again, what does Aaron Judge do every postseason? Like, the elite pitching, the mediocre pitching even takes him to town. But we have the pitching. Do we need to really add to that offense right now if we can't get Bregman or Santander? Do we need to get dramatic here and go get like a Brent Rooker or something? I don't think so. I think you can pivot to Kim and you can get a bargain of a deal. And I think whoever gets him is going to absolutely thank their lucky stars that they were able to sign a quality guy like him, who's just going to do everything you need and make your team better day in and day out. So those are my thoughts on Ha-Seong Kim. That's my thoughts on Bregman and Santander and all of this stuff. Again, not advocating. This is not an advocation for saying that we don't need a right-handed bat. I'm just proposing the question, and I'm also really advocating for Kim, like as a plan B. But I think if it were to happen, I'd be maybe even more happy than signing Alex Bregman. I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. It's been fun. I enjoy talking like this with you guys, and I will make more content like this throughout the year. So I had an incredible last season. We hit 1 million views on this channel last year. I had 12 subscribers January 1st, 2024. I've got over 7,000 on this channel now. That is incredible. I wanted 1,000 by the end of the year. We 7x that. I had no idea I would get 1 million views in 1 year on this. So thank you guys so much for being here. Continue to like and subscribe and do all sorts of fun stuff. Let me know what type of content that you might want in the future. And I'll just keep doing what I do. I'll make some highlight videos. I'll make some content, and we'll talk Sox. So appreciate you guys again, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.